We're live from Lagos, Nigeria. This is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Less than 48 hours to Osun poll. State government sues IGP, seeks order to probe Fadonsi as Amnesty vows to name and shame senator. Presidential Working Group extends deadline for public memoranda on state policing bill. And Zambia votes as counting begins in President Hichilema's bid for a second term amid economic concerns.
And in business, National Insurance Commission, NICOM, clears final 7 insurers as recapitalization deadline ends.
In sports news tonight, history was made earlier today at the Commonwealth Fencing Championship as president of the Nigerian Fencing Federation, who also doubles as the president of the Commonwealth body, won a silver medal at the event.
Thank you for joining us. Tonight begins shortly. With the Osun governorship election now less than 48 hours away, a political storm is gathering around Senator Francis Fadonsi as fresh legal action and an international warning intensify scrutiny over his alleged inflammatory remarks. The Attorney General of Osun State has filed a suit seeking an order compelling the Inspector General of Police and the State Commissioner of Police to investigate the alleged death threats involving the Osun East senator. The case was filed at the Osun State High Court in Osogbo, with the police listed as respondents and Fadonsi as an interested party. Amnesty International has also vowed to raise the matter across the 150 countries where it operates and publicly name and shame the senator over the alleged remarks. Fadonsi has maintained that his comment was metaphorical, saying he meant defeating the opposition at the ballot box through peaceful and lawful means. Now, staying with developments in Osun, the National Human Rights Commission has raised concerns over recent hate speech, inflammatory statements, threats of violence and voter intimidation ahead of the forthcoming election. Addressing newsmen in Abuja, the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Tony Ojukwu, specifically called on the Inspector General of Police to invite Sheikh Sani Jingir over statements attributed to him, while urging relevant security agencies to carry out their constitutional duties. He says that the Commission has established an election human rights situation room, providing a platform for citizens to report hate speech, threats, voter intimidation, and other human rights violations.
As at today, the Commission has written to the Inspector General of Police. It has written to the Director, SSS. It has written to the National Security Advisor. It has written to the Attorney General of the Federation to rein in these people and call them to order and prosecute them. Already, I understand that Senator Fadonsi has already been invited by the police, but we are also asking the Inspector General of Police to also invite Sheikh Jingir. And unless they do so, Nigerians are going to continue asking the question, is this man above the law? He cannot be above the law in this country.
As the election draws even closer, Governor Ademola Adeleke is taking his campaign to voters in Owo as fresh concerns emerge over the conduct of Saturday's poll. Adeleke canvassed support for his re-election, urging voters to sustain his administration. Meanwhile, his Imole campaign council has asked INEC to withdraw Ebonyi State Resident Electoral Commissioner from Osun, citing concerns over the election. Security tensions have also resurfaced following the reported arrest of an APC House of Assembly candidate and suspected political talks by soldiers allegedly with firearms. The developments come amid heightened concerns over violence as parties and authorities urge supporters to remain peaceful ahead of the election. The final hours of campaigning are playing out across Osun, with the major parties making their last push ahead of the elections. As always, as we have been covering for almost 2 weeks now, we will go to our correspondent in Osogbo. We have Femi Gbajabiamila coming in. We have Igbalani, Omoni, and Omolola Ololade. Starting with you, Omolola. Let's look at what the situation is today, where you're at. Where are you joining us from, by the way?
Hello, Felicity. I'm presently at the CBN office here in Osogbo, where the sensitive materials for the election on Saturday has just arrived. I mean, this morning we were at the INEC office, earlier today at about 8 a.m., where they said the sensitive materials will be picked from this, CBN. But unfortunately, 12 hours later, this materials arrived 12 hours later, already raising concerns about delays to sensitive materials and, all of that. And earlier yesterday we did talk about to the VEP rather to ask him if there will be delays or not, with these materials, and he did mention that there wouldn't be any form of delay, but there have been concerns right now as to what is happening. The vehicles are all here, and shortly the materials will be moving to their various registration area centers across the 30 local government areas.
All right, Messi, you've been following Governor Adeleke today. What has been the mood around the governor as he makes his final push for votes?
Okay, hello to you there, Felicity. We've been around the entire Iwo town today with the governor and his entourage, where the governor went on a door-to-door campaign. Let's take into cognizance that the governor was supposed to have his final rally today, but then he decided to, of course, do a door-to-door campaigning, which, of course, we saw where he had countless town hall series at Iwo community. I think about 2 hours drive away from Osogbo. But then with me is a very important person, which of course is not a stranger to the media. His name is Oriyomi Anzat, is the Accord Oyo State Governorship gubernatorial candidate, who is of course here to render his support to Governor Adeleke. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay, we've seen you go around with Governor Adeleke today. Are you confident that the people of Osun State would come out en masse to vote, given the fact that there's been lots of threats going on the polity?
Sure, they will come out. They can't wait to vote Adeleke again. They have benefited enough from the first time. And when you are something is put in before you as a food, you enjoy it. You wouldn't want it to finish. You want more. Osun people cannot afford to miss Adeleke. They cannot afford to have APC back to the government. All of them are saying, God forbid, because they know what they have experienced in the past. I could remember I had some of my friends that worked with Osun State government. You cannot compare them with any other state in Nigeria, because you used to give them money before they even feed their family. Initially, they didn't pay anything. Later, they are paying half salary. It was Adeleke that came into the power, and he changed so many things in the Osun State. So we are proud to be part of him. We are proud to work with him, to move around with him, and to tell people that you should not miss this opportunity once again. Okay.
All right. What are your expectations for the election day, given what you've seen today so far? Do you think people will actually turn out en masse, apart from what we saw today?
You see, I don't know. There are some people that they are destined to go through war before they can be victorious. I think Adeleke is one of them. This is first time. You know how terrible it was. Even the first time he was cheated, the inconclusive. He came again, he fought and he won. This time around, it's going to be easier than what people are thinking. Because all these hula balu moving up and down, they just want to intimidate people not to come out. Because if people come out, they will vote Adeleke. So we're just waiting for that announcement. Some people said maybe Monday, Sunday. By Saturday, by this time on Saturday, everybody will be jubilating here. Yeah, we come out victorious. Yeah. You know, people of Osun want Adeleke. No matter the level of intimidation, you cannot change people's decision. And you know, the electoral law they made, after they made that law, they realized the law is powerful. It's more than them, and there's nothing they could do again. People, they have the mandate, and they will give it to Adeleke.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm very, very optimistic.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that optimism. Now we will be moving on to one of the honorable who would, of course, introduce himself and tell us whether he is going to come out or if he feels threatened. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Honorable Adetunji Ajala, the SSA to the Governor on Rural Development and Community Affairs.
Okay, what do you think is going to happen on August 15, given the threat that has been going on the polity, and then the campaign season ends today? What is your take? Will people actually come out, or are we looking at another voter party in Osun State?
Osun State is a unique state, and I want to assure you that the voice of the people will definitely count, and we believe in Osun State that the votes is more than the ballot is more than the bullets. And as a matter of fact, the people Osun are not intimidated people. They cannot be intimidated, irrespective of the threats that is happening. People are resolute, and we can all see it. And I will tell you that you will see that coming up by Saturday. Apparently, people have seen that they want to be scared so that they will not come out to come and exercise their franchise. So, and this will not work because it is visible to the deaf, it is visible to the blind and audible to the deaf what the antics of the opposition is as to creating an apathy, as to, you know, creating fear, as to not letting democracy stand its grounds. And that is what we are saying. But of course, I can assure you that irrespective, if the security do their work, which we must stress emphatically, that there will be peaceful election in Osun State.
Okay, all right. You've heard what he said. He said the ballots will be more. Okay, he said the ballots will be more than the bullet. So let's hope that happens come August 15 for the election.
Thank you, Mercy. Let's go back to Omolola for a bit. You were talking about the distribution of sensitive material. Are there any concerns, outstanding concerns perhaps, around the deployment of these sensitive materials or personnel or logistic or even the functionality of the beavers that voters should be aware of?
You know, I did mention that these sensitive materials were supposed to have been moved since 7 a.m. because we were at INEC at that time this morning. And, you know, 12 hours later, is when this sensitive materials got to the CBN, office. And then, you know, it's still, I mean, the sensitive materials have not moved yet, although they said it will move shortly, but it hasn't moved yet because the vehicles are all around waiting to be, filled up with these materials. But I have the voters, the VEP here to shed more light on that because I'll be asking him questions about the delay and if or not it would affect. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, I did ask you, yesterday if there will, about the preparedness of INEC, about whether or not there will be delays with these materials, and you gave us assurance that we were supposed to, the materials were supposed to move at 7 a.m. this morning, but 12 hours later, we just saw what happened here at the speaker. Can you tell us what, the reasons for the delay?
There was a court order 2 days ago that directed the commission to include SDP that was not on the ballot paper before. Now, because the commission is a product of the rule of law, and we must obey the rule of law, that is why the commission has to go and print another set of ballot papers and result sheets. We can see within that 2 days from Abuja being brought here now. They are already delivered at the CBN here in Osogbo, now waiting for distribution to all the local government. We can see now that vehicles are already available with security presence. Immediately, they are distributed, they are taking them to the various local governments straight.
Okay, sir. I did talk about the election itself on Saturday. Do you think that this would in any way affect the elections, especially with materials getting to the polling unit, as it has not gotten to the registration area centers as at now?
Thank you very much. The eve of the election is decided we normally deploy materials to the rack. So we are still working in line with our preparation. So there has never been any delay now. Now, when the material are taken to the local government now this night, tomorrow morning or in the afternoon, it will be taken to the various areas where it will be distributed to units where it will be deployed to the PU on election day.
Okay, so let's talk about the beavers machines. Is there any issues because you due to the SDP due to you involving SDP, you had to print new ballot papers and all, and we understand that. But for the beavers machine, is there any issues, anything to be worried about?
There's nothing to be worried about because the beaver is not a matter of polling or political party. No, all registered voters in the unit are correctly configured in each of the beaver of the units. So party doesn't matter in each of the beavers. It doesn't matter party that is included or not.
Thank you very much, sir. You've heard it from the VEP. He said that there's no reason for alarm. There's no need for us to be worried because everything is still under control. He said that tomorrow the materials will start going, or even from tonight will start moving to their various polling units, and it won't affect Saturday's election. It's back to you, Felicity.
Omolola, thank you very much for the coverage from your end. And that was particularly important so people don't start to panic. Thank you very much. Messi, thank you very much as well. We'll go on a short break. And when we come back, we'll be talking with a member of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room for a broader thought on developments ahead of the elections. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before we bring in our guest, let's first bring you up to speed with the fact that the All Progressive Congress APC has held its mega rally and grand finale in Osun State as party leaders and supporters rallied behind its governorship candidate ahead of the election. News Centre's Igbalani Omoni has this report for us.
It was a show of strength for the APC as party leaders, governors and supporters converged on Freedom Park, Osogbo for the grand finale. Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Ogun's Dapo Abiodun, Ondo's Lucky Aiyedatiwa and Kaduna's Uba Sani were among the governors and party stakeholders at the rally. The message was clear, the final push for voters to choose the APC on August 15.
It is our desire to showcase to you a man in whom we are well pleased because in the course of working with him, we saw him as a man that will take Osun State from where you are now to where you ought to be. All the local governments, vote in peace, clean in peace, clean and sweep all the votes for APC. On Saturday, go out there and vote for development. And go for infrastructure. I just want to remember the fact that voting on Saturday is a must for all of us. You deserve the very, very best. And the very best is what the APC has offered. Yes. And let us be clear. We are a party of peace. On Saturday, I have to sweep. APC. So that any
Representing President Bola Tinubu, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, alongside APC National Chairman and Imo State Governors Hope Uzodinma, stressed the need for Osun to align with the federal government.
Choose wisely. Choose wisely. There is need for you to link Osun State with the center. There is need for you to link Osun State with what is happening in Nigeria. Over 30-something governors are already in the APC. We are waiting for Osun State. You are voting for a new Nigeria. You are voting for a Nigeria where prosperity will be here. You are voting for a Nigeria where Osun State will be part of the prosperity agenda.
Then, party flags and symbols were formally presented to Oyebamiji.
Governance is not about dancing. It is a serious business. It is not a theater. This is a serious business. And we are going to touch your life in various dimensions.
A major highlight was the defection of the Accord's factional chairman to APC.
We have stepped down our support for Ademola Adeleke. And today we declare our support.
With campaigns winding down, the APC is banking on its final mobilization to secure a victory and take control of Osun State after August 15 poll. In Osun State for News Central, Igbelani Omoni.
We're still staying in Osogbo this time. We're joined by Austin Aigbe, an election expert and member of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, for a broader assessment of the race. Thank you very much for being here. We have less than 48 hours to the election. Yet the dominant conversation has been violence, threats, and political confrontations. Has the voter been effectively blindsided, perhaps denied the opportunity to properly compare the ideas, policies, and records of the candidates?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. But let me quickly state that what you are seeing in Osun is not new in any subsequent election. It is not new. It wasn't new in Ekiti. It wasn't new in Anambra election. It's always the balls that happen before election. The Osun people, I expect, are waiting for August the 15th to vote the person that they want as governor. So what you normally will see, like today, Thursday, is usually the mega rally of all of the parties, so to say. But you know that Accord only has a go-back candidate, governorship candidate, and of course the sitting governor. So it doesn't have any other strong state base. So that's why you're not seeing the kind of balls that APC has put out today from Accord. But in any way, it's a norm. It is a usual thing that happens when the state governor is alone. You may see that if you're going to have an election in an Abia state, for instance, or elsewhere, where you don't have the national party at the state level. It's a normal phenomenon. So the Abia people, the Osun people would have decided, and I hear them speak, I hear them waiting for August, on Saturday to cast their vote.
Okay, so if I get you correctly, they've not been blindsided by or distracted by all of the rhetoric and violence and threats that we've been bombarded with in the last couple of days. Moving on, beyond the rhetoric, though, what substantive difference is there in ideology, governance, and policy that has been seen among these contenders, and why have those issues struggled to gain traction in this campaign?
So again, back to these political campaigns that we have in our country, where people literally engage in rallies that they say nothing, sometimes absolutely nothing. You see the musician at the back end is actually overriding those who are talking, like the one you had today. The Senate president represented the president in the campaign, asking for the vote to link up to the national level. It didn't quite talk about what to expect. And if you look at the town hall that took place recently, where they had the opportunity to have teased out how they will go about whatever intention they wanted to achieve. But that didn't also come out. You may not be able to hold them really accountable. But there was a presentation that took place today at the Situation Room refresher course for the deployed observers that will be going out on Saturday across the 30 local government. There's some kind of data gathering where a civil society organization has actually picked up those vital conversations and has put them into a kind of website coordinated website where you could even compare candidates based on what they are talking about. And arguably, majority are talking about, if you vote me, I mean, one of them, which of course is the city governor, if you vote me, I am going to continue on this trajectory. The other candidates are talking about, if you vote me, I'm going to make sure there's electricity 24/7. The other is talking about investment in agriculture, etc. But if you listen to the town hall recently, when the moderator had asked one of the candidates, how do you intend to go about this? And the feedback was a bit of an embarrassment, if to say the least, where a candidate would then reply that, the way you are saying it now is getting me thinking. So it has happened in state A, B, C. And if you look at those state A, B, C that the candidate has mentioned, I'm not too sure there's a 24-hour electricity in those states. And if people just do a simple, even an AI check will give you those evidence. Show me a state you can on the AI, even as the Meta AI on our WhatsApp. Just go there and tap on it. Is there any state in Nigeria that enjoy 24-hour electricity? I'm too sure Meta AI will give you enough evidence. So when politicians speak, they make this statement that look as if they are going to build skyscraper in the air without telling us the number of feet that will go down below.
Yeah, well,
you know, they have the way of telling us they're going to put the condition on our street and they will put the heat on the ground without telling us how. It's a pain.
One would hope that the people who don't have access to the internet will also have this information so they can make informed decision. But let's move on a little and also take another aspect. We've had security show of force. We've had allegations of killings and intimidation. Of course, we're still talking about the Fadausi controversy. And at that APC rally, you saw a faction of the Accord join the APC. And now we have a legal action involving the police. At what point does this level of tension begin to undermine the credibility of the electoral process itself?
Those violence, particularly the electoral violence and, of course, the killings that are linked to election, it's something that worries. But I will rather argue, in fact, we'll have that conversation when we're looking at those data, that what can we really pick down as death connected to the elections. For instance, there were some killings in February of this year where there was clashes at the point where certain local government chair wanted to resume forcefully or whatever means, and there were certain conflict that took place at that event. And can we link those deaths to the August 15th election? Maybe I would say no. But there have been series of events beginning from sometime last year that moved up to April of this year. And then a few months ago, even when the PDP had convention, there were certain issues too. But I would say that violence undermined participation. For instance, the senator who later would change his word, that he didn't say kill them, he rather would say kill them with votes. Meanwhile, he had clearly made a statement that cannot be retracted. There are people, millions of people have already seen that initial videos. Even they also allege that there were AI content, there were those who couldn't interpret in Yoruba. I think those were ways to maybe some of an advisory from his party people. If you hear when Oshomole was campaigning, he was talking about the APC was the party of peace. It's not trying to send a message to say what you may have heard. It's not necessarily true that this party is a party of peace. So why do we need to go into those narratives? Citizens are a bit worried. But again, what I've seen from the civil society organization report, from a Situation Room Observer report, the conversation that has gone on, there seems to be some level of confidence, again, with the deployment of security architecture, the show of force that happened, even though we know the conflict between the state administration and the police at some point, with the commissioner of police at some point. That has a bit changed. A few days ago, these citizens were thinking that with the new commissioner, there could have been prosecution, transparent prosecution, so that it can ignite certain level of trust in the electoral process. But that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened for many reasons, because again, the commissioner of police want to focus on the election, get the election out of the way, but by the 16th or 17th or maybe 18th of August, a few days after the election, all of these tension will just die down because the election would have been clearly over.
Is that we get to after that in peace and, you know, everything goes smoothly. If the objective is a free, fair and credible election, what are the three most urgent things in your view that INEC and security agencies, as well as political parties, must get right between now and the close of polls on Saturday? So we can be talking about what happened in a peaceful process when the days are over.
First, we think that it is important for political actors to de-escalate violent languages, de-escalate it, and rather send proper messages to the political landscape. All of those who have made those violent statements, they need to come back, and I see the senator have already started making a retraction of whatever he has said. That is very important. Political actors, particularly the big wins, the godfathers, must de-escalate violence by publicly acknowledging peaceful, free, fair, and credible election. That is one. Then two, the police, of course, who is in charge of election, the security, has an opportunity to create that peaceful environment by speaking to the issues that they think will man this area. The police has done mapping of the security areas, the violent area or the red areas. It is time to really in a way, adjust whatever mechanism they may have adopted, they may have been planned for to suit the citizens. Get the civil society involved in this narrative of peace engagement. Get the media involved in speaking to people. Beyond the media, get the traditional rulers to speak peace before the day of election. We still have tomorrow. Again, campaign has ended. Any form of statement that is released must not be politically related. Don't ask for vote. Your campaign ends tonight. Again, so INEC sensitive material arrived about 8 o'clock, 8:32, or thereabout. INEC has agreed to move material tonight to the local government area. I think INEC need to move material tomorrow to the super rack so that elections can begin as early as stated in the rule on the day of election. Any attempt to delay polling on Saturday may create a sense of some perception that may not be too good for the fairness of the election. And I think INEC must going to speak what he must continue to do what he has said. And let me give the commissioner, the resident electoral commissioner.
Austin, we have to go now. I'm sorry, that's the much time will permit us. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time. In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says 1.9 million permanent voter cards have been collected ahead of Osun State governorship election on Saturday. INEC said 1,906,390 PVCs, representing 81.50% of the state's 2,339,233 registered voters have been collected. The remaining 426,842 cards, representing 18.50%, have been deposited with the Central Bank of Nigeria. The commission also said 6,101 voters who applied for replacement of damaged, defaced, or lost cards printed downloadable copies of their PVCs. To one of our top stories tonight. The Presidential Working Group on the National Policing Bill has extended the deadline for submitting memoranda and position papers on the proposed legislation to Friday, August 21, 2026. In a statement signed by its chairman and chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, the extension is intended to give individuals, institutions, and organizations more time to make substantive contributions. The working group said it is committed to broad consultation and wants the views of Nigerians and relevant stakeholders reflected in the legislative process. The proposed bill is expected to establish the operational, administrative, institutional, and funding framework for an effective policing system. Outside of Nigeria, News Central has been covering the voting in Zambia. Now, we know that counting and sorting has begun as Zambians choose a president and parliament with more than 8 million registered voters. President Hakainde Hichilema, who is seeking a second 5-year term in office, is being challenged by Brian Madubile, a lawyer who once served in the late former President Edgar Lungu's cabinet. News Centro's Bongani Sesiba is on the ground in Lusaka and filed this report.
Polls opened in Zambia at 6 a.m., marking the start of a crucial election, with many Zambians eager to cast their votes. Among those in the queue were the youth who told News Central why this vote matters to them.
Doing this for the next generation, of course, because we're laying the foundation. You know, everyone that's coming up to us will definitely see what we're trying to create, or whoever we're voting for is trying to create. So it's basically for the next generation, just to make things easy for them. The struggles we had during our times, trying to make that easier for the next generation.
I think the youths are trying to communicate that they know that they have the power and they have the will to exercise it, and so they want to participate in the decisions for themselves and also for the sake of those that are coming behind them.
Meanwhile, the incumbent President Hakainde Hichilema cast his vote at Kabulonga Boys. He spoke to the media after voting, urging citizens to come out and exercise their vote.
I encourage everybody to, for a moment, leave what you're doing, fellow citizens, go out and vote. Doesn't take too long. Please go out and vote and register a critical decision to allow your country to progress.
President Hichilema also touched on the issue of anti-migrant sentiments in South Africa.
This country had its bridges bombed by the South African apartheid regime and many other African countries. But we say these are our brothers and sisters, and we fought with you. We fought with South Africans. We put our lives on the chopping boards. Some of our military people died. Civilians died, together with South Africans. Why should we separate ourselves now that you have the freedom? That's a homework that South Africans must really mark properly. What's happening there is wrong. And the leadership, my colleagues, I'm sure they're taking steps.
President Hakainde Hichilema is seeking a second term, but faces stiff competition from the main opposition leader, Brian Madubile of the Tonse Alliance. Voting closed at 6 p.m. and in some polling stations, counting began. The country now is waiting with bated breath for the results. In Lusaka, Zambia, for News Central, Bongani Sesiba.
And in business, the National Insurance Commission has confirmed 7 additional insurance companies as meeting the minimum capital requirement under the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act 2025. The latest approvals bring the number of compliant firms to 50, comprising 48 insurance companies and 2 reinsurance companies. The newly cleared insurers are MPLE General Insurance, MPLE Life Insurance, Sovereign Trust Insurance, Tangerine Life Assurance, Alliance and General Insurance, Guinea Insurance, and Regency Alliance Insurance. NICOM said the development marks the successful conclusion of the industry's recapitalization exercise. However, Universal Insurance, Staco Insurance, Nigeria RE, Nikon, and Goldlink were among firms not included in the latest list. Coming down to the NGX, the market is still under pressure, but the pace of decline has moderated. A second straight session in the red, although the decline was more measured today. We are seeing the all-share index fall 39 basis points as opposed to yesterday's 1.21. All-share index is at 243,017.38, and we have market capitalization now down to 156 trillion naira. If you take a look at sectoral performance, the pressure was, of course, broad-based again, with all but one of the sectors that was closing lower. So we have just industrial goods here, and it's not even doing well. It's flat, so it didn't go anywhere. All other sectors were in the red. The hardest hit was consumer goods, yet again down 1.22%. That's as much as we can take on business tonight. I am Joanna Mustafa. Up next, sports.
Adeyinka Samuel, president of the Commonwealth Fencing Federation, has won a historic silver medal for Nigeria at the 2026 Commonwealth Fencing Championships in Lagos. Samuel claimed silver in the men's veteran sabre after returning to competitive fencing for the first time in 13 years. He won 3 of his 4 bouts, including a victory over compatriot Tonya Sawari, before losing to Wales' Oliver Massey, who eventually took gold. The medal, the first of his career, makes Samuel the first Nigerian sabre fencer to win at the Commonwealth Championships. Nigeria finished third on the medal table with 1 gold, 3 silver and 13 bronze medals behind India and England, and emerged as the best performing African nation among 20 countries. The championship concludes tomorrow with a closing ceremony celebrating fencing and Nigerian culture.
I've won a medal. Okay, that's amazing. No, I've always wanted to win a Commonwealth medal. I think that I participated in 2 Commonwealths, 2006 and 2010 in Australia, and I just missed out on a medal. So for me to win a medal now, as a veteran, I'm ecstatic, and I'm looking forward to win. I'm going for gold.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's Super Falcons and South Africa's Banyana Banyana are currently locked in a high-stakes Women's Africa Cup of Nations playoff in Casablanca. The score is currently 0-0 with a place in next year's FIFA World Cup qualification pathway at stake. The winner will advance to FIFA's 6-team Interconfederation playoff tournament, where 3 World Cup places will be available. The winner will also join Ghana in the playoffs. The Black Queens came from behind to defeat Côte d'Ivoire 2-1 earlier today in the first playoff match. Ines Conan had opened the scoring from as early as the 4th minute from the penalty spot before second-half goals from Princess Marfo and Afoya Kiarewere gave the Black Queens the win. That's all on Sports News tonight. I am Okwe Oluwadibari. Entertainment is next with Ekemini.
Tonight on Entertainment News, Afrobeat star Wizkid has been announced as the headline act for the opening concert of Dirty December Fest 2026 in Lagos. The singer is scheduled to perform on December 18th, marking the start of the festival's 13-day program. Organizers say the opening night will feature live performances and fireworks. Wizkid's announcement comes as anticipation builds around this year's Dirty December season, with concerts and cultural events expected to take place across Lagos and other Nigerian cities. The festival is scheduled to run from December 18th to December 30th. And over in international news, Sean Diddy Combs is countersuing music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, accusing him of stealing private footage and selling it for use in Netflix's documentary series Sean Combs: The Reckoning. According to the lawsuit, Jones allegedly accessed another videographer's workstation during a 2022 trip and took drives containing footage intended for a documentary about Combs. Combs is also accusing Jones of making defamatory statements about him in the Netflix series. Jones previously sued Combs, making allegations of sexual assault and other misconduct, which Combs has denied. Netflix has said its footage of Combs was legally obtained. And that's it on Entertainment News. I'm Ekemini Jane.
Before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. We told you that Osun State government is suing the IGP and is seeking an order to probe Fadonsi as Amnesty International vows to name and shame senator. Presidential Working Group has extended deadline for public memoranda on state policing bill and offers shows Zambia has voted and counting has begun in presidential election in a president's bid for a second term. Do send us your eyewitness report. The number to do so is showing now on your screen. You can follow us on all social media platforms at News Central TV. Live programming is on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube.